Hello and welcome to this third session of Fearful Symmetries, which is a Trail of Cthulhu campaign. This is our second arc of this campaign. It is based in 1930s, particularly 1934 Britain, the interwar period. We have just begun kind of the second arc after a break of a year, both for the characters and players. Our characters are at a place called Convivial House. They are there sort of dealing with this estate that lies between Upper and Lower Quinton. And they have been investigating some weird sightings on the grounds of Convivial House. We point back to the death that Dr. Whitewood investigated last time of one of the owner's cousins, who was a member of the coven. So things that are kind of out in the air. Uh, there there is that break in the wall that surrounds Convivial House, a sense that the Bradbury estate that lies to the north, there's some weird stuff going on there. The Bradbury Grove has been mentioned in a couple of contexts. There's been some discussion of strangeness with Upper Quinton. There is the body that was found on the estate that was taken to our Stratford and to the Historical Society there, and which wandered off at some point. They also got some discussions, I believe that the names of some people. There was the nurse that Isabella spoke with last time, who talked about the birth of one of the daughters of the Bradbury household back in 1918. And you have the sense that there are a couple of other daughters. There were some things about the uh, uh, the the grounds. You found that there is a crypt of sorts by inference on the estate. I think those are the big ones. There are probably some other leads that I haven't recapped here. Anything else that people want to point to?
I mean, there is the connection to Portmore, Lord Portmore,
Right.
our would-be nemesis. That he had an interest in Convivial House,
Yes.
and we're wondering why. Is it just because it's adjacent to the Bradbury Grove, and
Yeah.
stuff
While
that's going
while
on
the
there?
area lies on one of the lines, there's not a junction there. So it does seem unusual, but clearly Portmore was upset that the house was bought out from under him.
Yeah, so I found myself speculating as to whether Portmore has anything to do with these strange goings on, or
Uh,
whether they are just inherent in the location.
yeah. Uh, you also heard that one of Portmore's sort of black shirt kid scout troops had made their way onto the Bradbury State grounds and gotten chased off.
Mm.
So I believe that was another detail.
I think
So
one thing was we'd sort of established that the body, the mummy, had come out from the Bradbury estate, and then its nighttime perambulations appear to be trying to go back to the Bradbury in the same direction to the
yes,
Bradbury estate.
that is correct. Yes.
Yeah.
There was talk about also doing a ritual to repair the wall. I believe that was another discussion that was made.
It was, yes, a ritual to repair the wall, and I believe we ended last session with breaking into the historical society to observe a body.
That was discussed as a thing.
Yeah, yeah, quite vocally by a certain alienist who's
Right.
wrapped up in such grave digging exploits already.
So let us take up sort of in the afternoon of that day that a lot of this investigation pieces were put together, and we'll put the four of you together at a small serving house. There are some locals around, but the four of you have a chance to discuss things relatively in private without being overheard. We'll assume that you are in Stratford at this point, a little bit larger than either of the Quintons. And so I think we are kind of coming in on the note of Dr. Whitewood go, well, obviously we have to break in, or that kind of.
We have to see this body and return it whence it came.
I think that we could offer to, should we say, watch over it, since there have been some occurrences the last few evenings, to see who it is that is causing tricks with it. That might give us a chance to see that without having to break in per se.
Ah, and then just steal it.
Does it need to be stolen?
Well, I cannot but believe that it seeks to get back whence it came. If we were to release it, then we could follow it.
Okay. Yes.
The
Yes.
difficulty in of putting those two ideas together, my dear Miss Grimaldi, is that we would find ourselves having undertaken to watch over it, only to discover it had been stolen.
Mhm. Except that it will only make it so far, correct? And then daylight, then it will drop again.
Perchance.
Are you fully prepared for wherever that body goes, Doctor?
Well, and we know that Arthur has had a very bad 6 months, but you'll notice that he has discovered a comb, and is looking it being out of London, that London fog that has been enveloping him, and the sense of despondency is slipping away. Anything is possible, my dear Wilford.
So you're prepared to go on the Bradbury estate if that's where the body goes?
Well, presumably, that is where we have to go. That is where the solution lies.
We are operating in rather a vacuum of information regarding the actual owners of the Bradburys themselves. We know very little about them other than the fact that they do not like outsiders, and that this body has come from it. It is and my own nighttime experience, I suppose, the gnawing hunger of the land to the north there. But
Well, and we also have a daughter, Flora, that was born, never mentioned again, and yet this strange, wild figure that is seen is called Flora.
Yes.
Which suggests perhaps, you say, child sacrifice to whatever the powers are.
Well, we know that tonight is as good a chance as any to observe the body, yes. Who knows how long it may lay in the Historical Society before some other party comes and scurries it away, and then we will have lost our opportunity. So perhaps, and we know that it cannot make it back to the Bradbury estate under its own power within the time allowed. As you say, Miss Grimaldi, it will, if what our supposition is correct, then it will be, it would be rather a scientific experiment, won't it? I think it could be quite interesting. It will fall over in the same farmer's field, and I am quite confident of some of our ability to truly break into the Historical Society. It didn't seem like Fort Knox, and the mummy seems more than capable of breaking out. I just admit to being uncertain of its disposition to anyone that it may encounter.
Miss Grimaldi did mention that maybe we offer a watch over.
But then
Yes.
how do we explain it goes missing?
Well, it's meant to drop. It's meant to drop dead, so we could just bring it back in the morning.
I think that poses rather more risk than simply
Stealing it.
stealing it. Yes, it's rather ungentlemanly, but it's needs must.
Funny, Miss
Gentlemen,
Grimaldi, how the two gentlemen seem to lean towards crime a bit more than
Yes.
people at the.
I must admit, I am struck. So,
I thought this was rather your field of expertise.
Miss Grimaldi,
yes.
could you make it disappear?
In what? She sort of stops and she goes, yes. But to what end?
Well, then we wouldn't have stolen it. It would have disappeared.
So
Then we find it where you put it. Does that satisfy moral? I mean, moral quandary when Albion is at risk.
Richard,
she
places a
sort of
hand on Arthur's shoulder at that. Like, he's really inspired by Arthur's sudden resurgence into boldness.
I do think she looks at Richard and she shakes her head. It's like, and she kind of goes, to what end? It is trying to make itself to the Bradbury estate. Are we going to go there with it?
Yes.
And to what end?
To put an end to these troubles.
I see your point, Mr. Kumar. We do not know. We have little idea of what lays before us. We have, which is why I would say that this would be purely an experiment at this point in observation. In seeing what actually takes place rather than what we believe to have taken place. I confess, seeing the dead walk would be a new one to me. At least a dead body. As he thinks back to the bookseller and the ghost situation.
So here is the thing that you know. There were a couple other things from last time. It was Nurse Packham that you spoke to. There was also mention of a person in Lower Quinton who seems to be a folk person of some kind.
The good wife.
The good wife.
Mhm.
But the body, at least now, is certainly more secure than it had been before. It is nailed into a box.
So if we were to wish to give the impression that the body was left behind, if we could stick a nail in this plan as it were, much as the nail in the coffin, but if we were to want to spirit it away in the night, well, I don't believe that the chap from the Historical Society relishes opening that box. And if we were to simply put another box back in its place, then who would to say what was inside? But that could be a problem. Perhaps it would be better before we undertake such an action to find out more, to discover more about what lays before us in the Bradbury estate, to speak to this good lady, this good wife.
And she sort of stops and says, and to have a sense of what it is we're going to do.
Yes.
If things get complicated.
Now, I propose that we seek out the good wife come tomorrow, then, and we can perhaps also make some sort of contact with the charming people of Upper Quentin, just to see if their reputation is deserved. And I do have a proposal that I wonder that you all might consider. We spoke of protecting Convivial House for our art. Now, I've spent some time exploring the aethers, the paths that lay before us in magic, and I've seen dream and more, but the next realm ahead of me is said to be the realm of Hecate, the goddess of the witches, and one supposes that she may be able to offer us true insight or guidance or power here. But I fear I would need your aid in this. It would be a step beyond anything I have ever taken before. I simply wish to put it out there, for it is a practice of the art that I feel we have not pursued since that night with the dragon. And I would hope for all of your aid in this, but again, perhaps it is something for us to revisit after we have gathered more information here in the mundane world.
There is one other person I don't think we've spoken to. Did we speak to Mr. Bloom, the rector of St. Swithin's? Then I propose I seek out Mr. Bloom, and the rest of you consider a trip to Upper Quinton.
And the
And
good
we-
wife.
And the good wife. Yes, I forgot about the good wife. Do we know who the good wife is? Is the good wife a real person? Or is it that, so we have an address for the good wife?
It's been
Yes.
described to where
But
she
a
lives
cottage,
in
yes.
Lower Quinton.
Okay.
Now,
Well,
on a danger level, the good wife doesn't seem too dangerous. So maybe that's a solo escapade for somebody. But Upper
And-
Quinton sounds quite dodgy.
Oh, I'm sure I'll be fine.
so are you suggesting, my dear Wilford, that I go to see Mr. Bloom and then seek out the good wife, while the three of you investigate Upper Quinton?
I'm more than happy to rough it out in Upper Quinton. And whoever wishes to join me, I'd be more than happy for the support.
Well,
But the other two tasks, I think, are a bit beyond me. But
just to be clear, Wilford, I do not think you should go alone.
No, some support would indeed be appreciated. But maybe one to St. Swithin's, one to the good wife, and two to Upper Quinton.
Where do you feel you'd be best deployed, Miss Grimaldi?
I have no problem speaking with the good wife. I am uncertain how helpful I could be with Upper Swindon. I am, how should we say, notable in that does not always go well in a place that holds to itself.
Oh, I'm sure people barely recognize your accent, Miss Grimaldi.
She sort of says,
Arthur's eyebrow goes.
Then it looks like I'm your second, Wilford.
Excellent. Let's go stick the nut on them then, Richard.
Yes,
So-
rather.
So, my assumption is that Richard and Wilford will take the car, drive back through Lower Quinton, drop off Isabella, and then head by car up to Upper Quinton. Does that seem reasonable?
Mhm.
Okay.
Oh, well, we'll let Miss Grimaldi drive to the first part. She needs to practice on English roads.
roads.
So let us cut to first the Isabella had been dropped off.
Mhm.
Is it Wilford or Richard that is driving the car as you head into Upper Quinton?
I think it would certainly defer to. I've got driving the 4, but I believe
I've got
that
driving the 3. You choose. No
Yeah,
problem there.
I'll drive. Yeah. I kind of imagine that there's an awkward moment as Richard is like, expecting Wilford, the army truck driver, to leap into the seat, and Wilford's like, "Oh, gentleman's seat, not my lord," kind of thing. And we have a very awkward moment before I finally get in the car and take us away.
You two will drive up to Upper Quinton. I think you will pass on the way. Essentially, the road passes by the fenced area of the Bradbury house. The estate, I think you can, the fence is away from the estate, so you can kind of barely make out the house, but you will definitely make out towards the northern end of the estate, a large forested grove. You will notice that the fence ends, and it definitely looks like there are some walking paths that head up to the grove and around the area. And like very suddenly, Upper Quinton is there. It is a postage stamp of a village. Uh, uh, there doesn't appear to be any kind of post office here. It is some small number of houses, a couple of shops, uh, no church, and you will kind of pull in. The only place that looks like recognizable as someplace that you might be welcome at is the Black Dog, which is their inn or public
Oh.
house, however we should say it.
Ominous name there, Richard, I feel. The Black Dog.
Aye, the black dog is rather an ill omen, but perhaps it serves a good pint nonetheless. I suggest that's where we start our
Aye.
investment.
Aye, let's do it. Into the Black Dog it is then.
So it is mid-afternoon on a Saturday, getting on towards sort of early evening. You will come in. There are a few people in here. Whereas in the Red Lion in Lower Quinton, people kind of looked at you and then, went back to their business. This is very much everything kind of gets quiet as the two of you come in. And the barman will move over to the end and will say, "Are you two gentlemen lost?"
Lost for a point.
Thirsty would be more the word, I would think. Yes. 2 pints of your finest bitter, please, sir. And one for yourself.
2 pints it is. And he will go and he will pull 2 pints and sets them very much at the end of the bar, closest to the door, kind of thing. Like, and he will say, "May I ask where you two gentlemen are headed?"
Well,
You see, we don't get many people around here, unless perhaps you're a relation of someone in the town that I don't know.
Not that I'm aware of, but we've heard so much about the Quentin. We heard the people were friendly, the beer was crisp, and the air was fine. And it seems rather a shame not to explore all of Albion's fine splendors, don't you think?
One might say that, sir. I wouldn't know. And was there anything else?
We're actually staying on the border here with Convivial House. Do you know it?
We are aware of it, sir. I understand that a new gentleman has taken up there.
Yes, yes, and well, good neighbors, strong fences, so forth. He's asked us to see if the people of Upper Quentin would be, well, I believe it's Mr. Bradbury is the owner of the estates to the north. Yes. I was wondering, well, I was rather hoping I could buy the chap a pint and make sure that he was okay with everything, all of the works that are planned there at Convivial House.
We don't trouble Mr. Bradbury, and he doesn't come into town. You'd have to go up to the house to speak to him.
Would this be a good location to spend a point of oral history to find maybe a drunk or, just to get some of what the people of Quentin believe about the Bradburys?
Sure. let's have you make that spend.
Yeah, just because I was reading it and it was like you can find sources willing to talk, win their confidence, and gather usually lengthy oral testimony about historical events, etc. And you know, I
Family
will
legend and gossip.
exactly, yeah. And I will good chap my way rambling around into this, taciturn man, perhaps revealing more information than he intended to.
What actually will happen as the two of you are there is you will see a gentleman who's been seated by himself. You can see that he has a packet wrapped up in butcher paper, and he's been sitting there, and he's kind of finished off a pint, and he's come over, comes over to where the two of you are at, and waits until the barman kind of steps away, and he will say, uh, maybe I could be of help to you two gentlemen if I can give you directions if you need to get to the Bradbury estate. And you know, he kind of like then kind of gestures over to the table that he was sitting at. And the other people kind of they keep their eyes on him and on you. And he will pull his jacket down and he will say, I was just grabbing a pint before I headed back to the missus with the roast for tomorrow. Uh, my name's Clayton.
Good day, Mr. Clayton.
I this is a town of old insularities. I apologize. My neighbors are less than neighborly. You know how it is in these small towns.
And how long have you been here, Mr. Clayton?
Oh, I married into my wife's family and came here 23 years ago. What did I say?
Did you serve in the war?
I did, sir. Signal Corps.
Oh, very good, very good. Yeah, running those lines. Dangerous job, that is. So you left Upper Quinton for a bit and went to the war, and then you came back.
Yes, got married before then and was out there. I married young. Uh, and yeah, ran the lines in the trenches. Can you see him pause? He says, "Yourself?"
I was there. I was there. Saw a bit too much really for my liking. Didn't do me too well that, but back on the men now, that's for sure. Like so many, like so many. Aye, it was hard times indeed. But anyway, to the now. W- we were wondering about the estate up the road.
And here's where sort of the oral history kind of comes in. He will say, "The Bradburys, they send their people down into town when they need things. But Mr. Bradbury, his wife, and his two daughters keep to themselves. They they're an old odd family. I I I myself only met Mr. Bradbury during the war, towards the end when we were all shipped back. Uh, even then, kept to himself, officer, of course, but you know how that is."
Aye,
He says, "I shouldn't let this chop get too warm. Maybe you gentlemen would come with me to my house for a cup of tea. We can
oh,
chat a little further."
good cup of tea would be much appreciated on these cold days.
and he'll pick that up, and he will lead you out the door.
We'll drive him the short distance to his house, I guess.
Oh, you have a car?
Yes, yes. Would you like a lift?
I wouldn't say no. This is quite a vehicle here.
Yes. Oh, well, hop in, my friend.
Absolutely. Paul,
Yep.
you have the knowledge as a skill, which is, the London skill. But I'd like for the moment to kind of put it ask you to make a spend from that as a kind of a like how to read a town kind of thing, like the sense of
Certainly,
the
yeah.
city.
Spent.
And I think that you will, as you are walking a little bit ways down, there are absolutely no religious symbols in town. You're used to there being crosses or markers, something of that sort, on houses, maybe even a little graveyard, anything like that. I mean,
No
you
church, chapel.
noted no church whatsoever. Uh, and I think that absolute absence of it uh, will be notable to you.
And I think I'll call him out on this as we're driving along. I'll just turn around and say, if we're staying in the area tonight, clearly I'd like to go to church in the morning. Suffered a bit in the war, and Padres helped me through that. Where's the best? I can't see a spiral steeple at all around here.
Says, well, you'd have to go down to Lower Quinton. That's the closest for services. I've only been there once or twice. Well, my wife's a lapsed Anglican.
But I take it. I mean, that must be where you got married then, was it?
I
Is there a point?
maybe you see him kind of pause, and he says, "It was more of a civil ceremony than a religious one." Uh,
Is there a spend item to possibly see if he's? I don't want to say is he lying, because I think he's just explained himself. But he said he has been twice. Is there a spend item to
yeah,
find
let's
out
have you make a this. Do you have streetwise?
Indeed, I do.
Okay.
I will spend from that. That's coming down quickly. That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is he?
Yeah, I think one of the things you'll get as you're kind of talking to him is you're picking up just a trace of an accent, old accent, and you realize that he might be like a sort of second generation, first generation Englishman, but he's definitely got a German accent. Like it's there in his voice. And he says we just I just never took to the church myself here.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, no. I mean, thanks for the information. Lower Quinton, it'll have to be then. Aye, aye. Richard, what do you say?
Yes, I mean, let's have a spot of tea, and we'll head to Lower. We're not going to, impose upon you for much longer, my friend. Yeah. Well, if you could give us some directions to the Bradbury estates.
Yeah.
You
Well,
you mentioned Lord Bradbury and his two daughters. Yes, Flora was it,
and he'll make a face, and I don't think there's a Flora.
no. Oh, I must have misheard. What were their names?
And you'll see him like clearly he has to think about it in the sense that he doesn't like they clearly don't cross paths with them. And he'll say, I want to say Emily and Sarah. My wife will know.
Oh,
Uh,
yes. Um,
I'm going to cut there.
yeah. I mean, I'm
We'll
just
come
kind of wondering
back to you.
more. I don't.
Yeah,
I
well,
think
we'll come back. You will notice, I think you'll pull up their house. Cottage is very much on the outskirts of Lower Quinton. Kind of on the other side of town from where the Bradbury estate is. Let's come to Dr. Whitewood, and then we'll come to Isabella, and then we'll come back to you two. Dr. Whitewood, you wish to go and speak with the pastor?
Yeah, rector of St.
Rector.
Swithin's. And St. Swithin's, I'm assuming, is the church that we've just been hearing about.
It is. It is the place where the local registrar is held. Uh,
And I guess I either go to the vicarage or the church in search of Mr. Bloom, the Reverend Bloom.
He will pop out when you are walking around the area, and he will come over to where you're at, and he could say, "Good sir, how may I help you?"
Mr. Bloom?
Yes.
Questing. My name's Arthur Whitewood. I don't know if village gossip has reached you, but I'm here with an American actress.
Oh, the Hollywood woman. Yes.
Indeed. And I'm there is the possibility of a film being made in the vicinity, and I'm acting as something of a, how would I describe it? A historical consultant, I
Oh,
suppose.
are you a historian then?
I have an interest in history and a range of different areas of expertise. I suppose that I'm here just as a local go-between, shall we say, to discover as much as I can about the locality. And I had an interesting conversation with PC Naismith over the recent peculiar events at Convivial House, and that might well create the center for rather interesting story to be told. But yes, I'm interested in the history of the locality.
Excellent.
I've
Excellent.
heard about the
Perhaps
Bradbury estate and.
Perhaps if I do well by you, you might be able to convince the young gentleman to come down to church.
Oh, does Mr. Hale not a regular
He
parishioner
has not,
attender?
though I have put upon him a few times.
I did not know that. I will talk to him.
It was always good to get good folk on these pews.
I suppose in the current times, the war shook a lot of people's faith, Reverend.
That is certainly true, but it is many years since the war, and that young man, certainly not of age to have served. But that's neither here nor there. So what can I do for you?
I'm interested in general historical context, and often I've experience has shown me that often the local man of the cloth has an understanding of the locality that is unique.
He says, "Well, you are in luck. Here we keep all of the registry records and details. We're the recorder for the land payments and all of that such and thing."
And presumably the same records will be kept in the other village. Upper Quinton?
Oh, no, we keep the records for both villages.
Oh, really? So no church up there?
That is the case.
Oh, I mean, I suppose maybe we can see it in the distance, can we? And a sense of, oh, well, no. So you serve both parishes?
Well, I I've never gotten to a clear sense. When I came here, my predecessor told me to just consider them uh, uh, Quakers or the like,
Oh,
keeping their own service.
right.
He
Oh, well,
said
oh,
that they have their own faith.
right. How very interesting. Well, that's exactly the kind of unique detail that I was hoping you might be able to help me with. Um, because I know a little bit about the, Mr. Hale, and I picked up something about the history of Convivial House, but I've discovered almost nothing about the Bradbury estate, which is just across the wall from them, as I understand it.
Yes. And he will take you in. They have all the old records. It is filled with books and papers. There's even kept in a box, mostly for historical novelty, some of the old wooden stick records, the old style. Uh, he said most of those got thrown away or burnt, but a few were kept, and we keep them to show folks what they used to do. Uh,
Fascinating.
the tallies there.
I think probably I'm looking at using library use to in the description skill to ferret out information.
Uh,
Specifically, I'm looking for anything that would allow me to construct a family tree for the Bradburys from the current back.
sure. Why don't you make a that spend?
Consider it spent.
So you will find that the details here go back to about the 17th century. He'll explain that uh, the lead on the roof was taken and the church burnt at that point, and so records only are from after that period. And you will go through. You can see that there are some Bradbury names in the graveyard. Uh, looks like only the head of household is actually buried here. That seems to be the male head of the household, though none particularly recently, but there's some older how do I put this? Uh, uh, Mausoleum kind of
Mm-hmm.
there's a mausoleum there and markers. The thing that will strike you as you go through the records of birth and things like that, you can definitely confirm there was uh, the names of the daughters currently are in fact, put the family details back here. It looks like Emily would be 11. And Sarah would be 9. Those are the only two that are listed there for the current family. The thing that will strike you as you're going back through this, looking back, uh, is you will see that name that you were given, Flora, appear several times. Clearly a family name, as family name for the firstborn daughter. Like that's clear. When it is recorded. The thing that will strike you is you would expect to see for that firstborn daughter at some point for any of these a date of marriage or a date of death. And you do not.
Hmm.
The other thing that you will notice in the records, if you want to make another spend,
I'll make another library you spend.
is,
The last library you spent.
is that the firstborn son in the various households, that at least amongst the entries you're seeing, that the mother dies in childbirth with an alarming frequency to when the firstborn son is born.
Hmm. Um, and presumably the family name runs through the male line.
Yes.
Where I'm not seeing marriage, or I'm not seeing any marriages or any deaths of a flora.
Right.
How does that tie up? How do the overlapping dates of those floras fit? Is there always a flora?
Maybe the records are kind of incomplete. The flora appears there some from time to time, but you suspect it's less that there's not a flora, and more things not being reported. Like you just have that sense. Does that seem like a fair answer?
That does. Thank you. I'll settle for that, and spend a dusty afternoon
Okay.
in the vestry with the records.
Isabella, take a short walk through town. That sort of nice. Again, I think we said we were in spring, or like very early spring here, so it's crisp out. Picture all of those Miss Marple and Perot, a village walkabout kind of things. And you will find there is, towards the south of town, a very old style cottage with a beautiful garden. That kind of garden that you have to admire because it doesn't look cultivated. It's not in neat rows or anything like that. It's a wild garden, carefully tended. And you will knock on the door, and after a moment or two, you will see the door open, and there is a woman there who, and let me grab up the picture for you here. Hang on one second. Who is strikingly beautiful. I put her picture there. Just right. So she's one of those women that she's clearly older, significantly older than you, but somehow she has, like Kate Blanchett and so on, kept her looks entirely in that ageless way. And she will smile and she will say, "Good afternoon, can I help you?"
And she says, "Good afternoon. My name is Isabel de Grimaldi." She goes, "I had a lovely chat with Nurse Peck, and she mentioned you. I was wondering if, well, your garden is amazing, so I have some questions about that. But would you mind terribly if we had a little chat?"
"Why don't you come in, Miss Grimaldi?"
Thank you.
Inside, that smell of, fresh cut herbs and so on, uh, beautiful things tied up and about, everything kind of fresh. And she will take you inside, and she will say, "Shall I put the kettle on?"
And she says, "That would be lovely."
And she will go into the kitchen to do that. And you briefly hear her talking to someone. And then I think like a moment later, you'll hear the sound of the back door kind of shutting, like somebody going out.
All right. And did it sound like she was speaking to like a maid, or
No, you would have you would have expected it to be able clearly someone who was speaking gently to someone.
all right, like a visitor?
Yeah.
All right.
She will come back and she will sit down and she will say, "Shall we go by first names? My name is Audrey."
It's lovely to meet you, Audrey.
You
Yes,
are
please. Isabella.
Isabella. Is it by any chance, and I know, and you will have to excuse my rudeness, and perhaps parochialism if I ask you this, that you are related to Grimaldi the magician?
And she nods and says, "My father, or at least the one who's currently in London, is my father. There is, of course, his father and his father."
I had seen the adverts. You were in Blackpool last year, I believe your father performed.
And she nods.
Miss
Did you get a chance to see
Grimaldi.
the show then?
No, I don't go far from here. I had a friend who was entertained by the magical tricks of a Grimaldi. They came and told me all about it.
Interesting. She goes, "I grew up in a household where the secret of those tricks was a way of showing love to each other."
May I ask why you've come here, Isabella?
Once I met a little boy named Cutter. And he told me to remember him. And so I tried to do that. And she goes, and for some reason, when Nurse Packard mentioned you, I certainly thought that I must pay a visit.
But you have a purpose here, Miss
I do.
Grimaldi. One of your stature coming to call upon me must have a purpose.
We came to visit the people who have taken over Convivial House. St. John and his friend. He'd had his cousin out to visit, and she and her friend did not survive the trip back.
That was a tragedy.
And so we
Bless you.
came.
Sorry. Alan sneezed.
And she sort of stops and says, "It is the least that we could do is to look into it." She was.
They are in
friend.
grave danger.
No. And while there is a fence that we can probably mend, and that may help them,
You will not be able to mend the fence as you are right now.
then what do I need to be in order to be able to mend?
I can provide you with some material that will assist in that. Otherwise, the forces will continue to push against what you do, and performing such a rebuilding will be difficult. I'm willing to do this without cost or bargain because of the aid that you gave my former husband.
And then I stop and I say, very well. I only quake a little bit. Does that make any sense? This sort of thing where you have the tea and you set it down because it's, splashing a bit in the cup. Thank you.
Give me tonight to gather what needs for you. And if you come in the morning, I will have that provided for you.
And she sort of stops.
Do you and your associates mean to tread on the grounds?
I've tried to discourage them. Their curiosity is what has brought them this far.
Be cautious, be careful. I know you will be, but that is a dangerous place. And the girl is part of it, but does not know what part she plays.
There's one partner who clearly believed that it was power, place, that he could
He
control.
believed he could co-opt it, but the sources that he follows are opposed to the forces that bless Bradbury. Neither of them are your friends. Portmere is a fool, and despite what he was able to do to my husband, sorry, ex-husband, his vision is limited. Come tomorrow morning.
Here.
She pauses as you start to head out, and she says, it gets more dangerous from here.
We will look for deeper reserves then.
And you're outside in the smell of the flowers, and heading back out.
Yeah, there's that sort of thing when you walk through it and it's like it's so lovely that it's a transition from the conversation that you just had, so that it also is a dream after, if that.
That seems perfect. Let's take our first break, and we'll come back with Richard and Wilford speaking with the gentleman. So I think we cut to a cottage here for the Claysons. The wife is pleased to have visitors there. You will be invited in. I think that, Wilford, since it's kind of a thing that you had alluded to before, you will see on the mantle are some pictures of Mr. Clayson in his uniform from quite a long time ago. He looks gangly and barely a kid in that uniform. That kind of seems like he shouldn't even fit into it. And they will sit you down. They will ask if you would like a little supper. You are muted.
Speak up,
Do they,
Wilford.
se- do they seem reasonably affluent?
No.
As in, can he afford to feed us?
Politeness. I mean, they can. I mean, it's a tight thing, but they can.
I just a something with a tea, please. We're meeting some people for dinner later, so yeah, just a little with tea, that'd be nice.
And they'll pull out some biscuits and set some plates for you. And Mrs. Clayson will say, "What brings you to this neck of the woods?"
We wish to speak to Mr. Bradbury on behalf of his neighbours at Cumberville House.
Well, good luck with that one.
Why? I've heard he's not a friendly chap, but
I don't know of much of anyone who has been up to visit or see. He and the missus and the daughters keep well to themselves.
I mean, it has no workers, no men who work on such a fine grove that we saw from the road.
There's a pause there, and Mr. Clayson will say, "Oh, the grove tends to itself, or the locals tend to it. And grove is the grove. We don't. It's a bad place."
Whatever do you mean?
And what would you like to spend to get these two to open up?
Well, I think this is a credit rating spend.
Okay.
As I whatever do you mean? As I put my cup of tea down, pull a crisp pound note out of my pockets and place it next to my cup of tea. Yeah, why not? I don't use my credit rating for much, so why not?
Sure. Mr. Clayton, you see him, he clearly like his brow furrows and he is maybe about to say something. And his wife says, it's a bad place. We don't much have dealings with the people in Upper Quinton, and Upper Quinton don't have dealings with us. There's a long family story about how my family came to be here, but that's neither here nor there. We've always been on the outside, and there are further outside places than that. There's no church there, but there is a religion. I have seen it once or twice. The locals, they carry things up into the grove. Animals, beasts, and throw them into the grove. It's a bloody fetid place up there. Sometimes the wind will catch and you could smell it carrying down. And sometimes when the new moon is in the sky, so much as you can see that, locals will head to the grove.
Are those kindred of the Kibbo Kift involved in that? Is that their doing?
No. I can't imagine any scout troop wanting to go up to that place.
By what you've said, nobody will want to camp there overnight, that's for sure.
No.
Scout or no scout. Now, your husband served, I'm sure you must be quite proud that he served in the Royal Signals.
It was a hard thing too. His father was German.
Oh, I bet you he didn't get much love from the troops in the trenches, that's for sure. But he served, and respect to a man that does that. Definitely.
Had to lie about his age, 14 when he went in.
I definitely took some balls then to do that.
And you see him go, he's like clearly the not wanting to talk about it kind of thing, but he
Did you know what regiment Bradbury served in? Was it the Warwickshire?
And I think if that would be the local regiment for the area, then yeah, he definitely served here to this area.
Oh well, to be expected, those up across Tufts, they normally always got to offer some position in a local regiment, sending fine boys to the death because they didn't have an ounce between their ears. That's how I view it. But thanks for the tea. What did you say, Mr. Fraser?
Best cup of tea I've had in a very, very long time, and I can only say thank you for your insights into local agriculture here at the Bradbury Estate. When he says that, he peels off another pound note and places it on there and then puts the cup of tea down on top of it. Says, I do believe that if you're ever looking for work, Mr. Clayton, the gentleman over at Convivial House is always looking for trusted hands. And when the building when they are finished with their works, I'm sure they will be looking for help with the house as well, Mrs. Clayton. I will make sure that you are in good stand. You know, if you wish to approach them, then I'm sure you'll be in good standing.
And they will thank you. The husband will kind of wait till you are kind of out the door, and he will say, she won't speak of it, but I know that that forest talks. I've heard it. And it don't make pleasant sounds.
I fear I understand exactly what you mean, Mr. Clayton.
Shall we bring the four of you back together? That seemed reasonable. Once again, let's cross paths in Lower Quinton with Richard and Wilford having returned back from their excursion to Upper Quinton.
As we
Dr.
drove down the road, like you saw curtains twitch and people staring at us, that landlord at the Black Dog just
kind of quiet, watching. And Dr. Whitewood, Isabella, and this is probably getting on evening when the four of you meet up.
Some rum going on up in Upper Quinton, that's for sure.
You anticipate my very words, Wilford. There are some very strange patterns in the Bradbury family tree. A Flora who is born, but has no recorded marriage, no change of name, no recorded death. A repeated pattern. And the firstborn son, invariably mother dies in childbirth.
Well, the whole place, they're not even God-fearing folk. They worship something untoward in that grove. Some evil lurks there.
I do wonder if this may be a sort of ism of a kind. We have the Royal Red Witches, who I believe are dedicated to the land and to Hecate. But you know, the great powers have many faces, many guises, many aspects, and perhaps the Bradburys are turned to another more sinister one, and this family line of Flora, it seems some sort of sacrifice akin to what their people do. They in the grove. I'm afraid I was on other business, but it reminds me of the story you told me of the maze, the hedgerows last year. Perhaps some sort of similar power works its way here. But what of the good wife, Miss Grimaldi? Was she?
It will be very helpful. She thanks us for our aid to her former husband, and for that she will assist us at no cost. She will deliver some materials tomorrow, but she says we will not be able to mend the fence as we are now. We are not powerful enough. That what we are facing is significant. And she goes, I do think, Richard, that you are correct, that we will need to travel deeper. And we need to understand the materials that are being sent to us.
When you say deeper, Miss Grimaldi, what exactly do you mean?
She goes, we need to go deeper. And she looks at Richard.
We need to go beyond Dr. Whitewood. We need to go to the next plane of our power, of our art. I've been so looking forward to sharing this with the rest of you.
Yes.
Perhaps I misheard you, Miss Connolly, but her former husband?
Yes, the one that we aided.
Is
The king?
this previously?
Mr. Oberon? Oh. Oh, then she is rather a more significant figure than I thought. She was.
And she sort of nods and says significant. It's an understatement.
Interesting. Well, you can see that Richard's like an excited kid, you know. Can't wait to do this. He's thinking about everything that's laid out and the mystery and everything, but he's like, but yeah, we can shortcut it all maybe by talking to a goddess.
I
we just
don't
need.
expect shortcuts.
Well, obviously.
So we clearly need this material tomorrow then. So in reference to tonight's excursion with that body, I don't think that's a wise move, Doctor.
In the light of developments, I tend to agree, my dear Wilford.
If only we could find out who that body was. My suspicions is of Flora of days past, but
I don't know.
It was older than an 18-year. Was older than the teenagers, I believe, was the
Correct.
Yes, I mean, sadly, the parish records go back just about as far as the best identification of the age of the corpse. I think that the Historical Society placed it at mid-17th century, and there was a fire here in the church in the mid-17th century. Records prior to that are gone. So that may be entirely coincidental, but it may not be.
Yes. Well,
While following the body is now probably off the books, did we still want to recover the body?
Part of me feels that body needs to return whence it came. It is out of place currently. And I cannot believe that doesn't upset the balance of the ethers.
I suspect you are right. There is a symmetry, a fearful symmetry of sorts within such a thing. But sorry, I couldn't read this.
That'll drop.
But I think we do not. I do know, however, a power that could tell us the price of the costs and insight. Or we discovered we have yet to try to speak to the Bradburys by day. I am sure that they would not. The car can probably take a round of buckshot if it comes to that.
Oh, well, we did hatch a plan if we were going to go in there by day, didn't we, Richard?
Yes. We thought the Mr. Bradbury did serve in the war. He was an officer, and we thought that we might strengthen our arm by purporting to be from Her Majesty's services, only in a civilian capacity, you understand, but empowered in their service to check in on the former servicemen of the Warwickshire Regiment. And then it would seem, we may be given short shrift, but it would seem unlikely that Mr. Bradbury would open fire upon us or sacrifice us to whatever lies within his grove if he believed that we were representatives of, let's say, higher powers.
His Majesty the King.
Indeed.
That would be excellent as long as your fabrication was not revealed, at which point then he might be willing to feed you to the grove.
Yes, well, there is no path forward without risk, I fear.
And on that point, I think I need to make a phone call for some in the post office down to some people in Hoxton to do a bit of work for me.
Just before we embark on this subterfuge, as I look around the table, I would have to say that we do not look terribly official.
Why? I don't know what you mean.
There is not a tie between us. There is not a suit between us.
in my
We
luggage.
have a velvet dressed dandy, I beg your pardon, my dear Wilford, but a scruffily dressed man of the people,
No offense
Um,
taken.
an American, and myself. And even I would admit that I am not looking my best.
I'm sure you and Richard could brush up if need be. And as I quickly look to see if I do have disguise, not particularly well. I'm sure between us we can. I'm sure Miss Grimaldi could look like a civil servant if she needed to.
Ah, that's interesting.
Yeah,
She sort of
that is
stops.
interesting.
And with the right spectacles, I could look as mousy as anyone. She's not that convincing. So
So what I would like to do, Lowell,
Uh-huh.
is spend a point of contact. Well, I've already got the Hoxton gang.
Right.
I would like to contact them either by telegram or by phone call from the post office and send one of them to the Chelsea pensioners in London and find some details on a sick, somebody who is in the hospital, basically, in the Royal Hospital, Chelsea, who was served in the Royal Warwickshire Regiment. That shouldn't be too hard. Soldiers do like a drink, and I'm sure that information could be gathered. So I want a name of a soldier who was served in the Royal Warwickshire Regiment who is in the Chelsea pensioners.
Okay.
If you invested your contacts pool, you got 1 point invested in the Hoxton gang, right?
Yeah, but I've got more in contact, so I could increase that, or I could do it another way, if you suggest.
Could invest it in a military contact, and therefore they could do the same thing, but they would also be able to perhaps, if it came to it, independently verify, as opposed to
back us up. Okay.
Seems stronger than getting a criminal gang to do the
Friend
legwork.
in the War Office. Okay. Done. Another contact spent.
That's a remarkable bit of fictional positioning.
Yeah. Let's say 2 points for contacts for that. I think seems reasonable. And essentially we will call someone up who is very surprised to hear from you. And there's a bit of talk. This is one of those persons in the office that dealt with things that fell off the back of the truck, kind of thing. And he is surprised to hear from you out of the blue so late in the day on a Saturday. It's like, what kind of trouble are you in? Do I need to come and bail you out from somewhere?
Oh no, it weren't like last time. I've definitely not had too much to drink. That's 100% for sure. No, I was just looking up some people. Somebody's called me out on a bluff, and I just need to know the name of somebody at the Royal Hospital in Chelsea. Somebody that served in the Warwickshire Regiment. I was wondering if you could get that information for me.
Gonna be a moment.
Of course. Do you want me to phone you tomorrow?
Yeah, if you give me a call, it's Sunday morning, but give me a call. I will wake up one of the lads who's there for the overnight, and I'll get them working on this. But yeah, call me in the morning, and I'll have a name for you.
Superb. And
This will put us square.
Oh, it will. That will. I ain't in no trouble. Let me be clear on that.
I didn't ask, and I don't want to know.
Wise move. Thank you very much for that, mister.
Okay. So that's set for tomorrow. Anything else anyone else wants to do this evening?
Obtain a tie.
Okay.
And is there, in fact, a local barber shop?
There is a local barber, but it's a Saturday night.
That's true. Well, what time does he open on a Monday?
Essentially, it'll
Oh,
be
Sunday. No, it's
tomorrow is Sunday.
The civil service is not going to turn up on Sunday.
It will if somebody's really sick. If somebody's on their deathbed, it probably would. Plus, I can give you a good haircut. I've shorn sheep in my time.
That's fine, Wilford. Thank you.
And the other thing I think you will realize, essentially, if you go back and speak with Dr. Elliott and Mr. Hale, is they certainly can lend you ties and such things to help out with your disguise. I suspect Mr. Hale is probably about Richard's frame, and Dr. Elliott is probably could reasonably pass for you, Dr. Whitewood. Does that seem reasonable?
Sure, if we wanted, we could find a chap in the village who could lend those old uniform to Wilford to wear for pretense. Depends on how we want to approach this. I'm not wedded to going along for it, but I do think it would be beneficial to actually speak to these people in a way that they cannot just murder us.
Yeah, I think the point of going there under this pretense is that it should allow us to get in and out. Even if he says no, he's not interested, we could use it to scout the place out to some degree, without getting murder hobo by him. And so it's a scouting thing, and to get the cut of the guy. I think that's important. If somebody says the plan's complete, a no-go, then please say.
Need some points in assess honesty and the setup that we've just done. I think is the big part for that. In terms of the ritual we were talking about, I can't remember exactly how we do the Aethys thing, but I feel like that's probably going to be a space ritualistic,
Mm-hmm. So do you want to do that this evening?
Well, Richard obviously doesn't
Okay.
want to wait around, but it depends on what the group believes.
I'm more than happy to help out in that. I think the only other thing is we need to make a decision on the body. Leave it there or steal it tonight. We don't want to follow it anywhere.
I think we have to leave it there.
So in terms of space that you have that is probably applicable to the ritual, it's likely that you have to do this on the grounds of Convivial House. Certainly not going to do it in a let room in Lower Quinton. And we'll assume you go back. Hale is pleased to see you again. I think you probably give him the briefing of we're looking into things rather than any details. You will see Dr. Elliott there. He has his copy of An English Rose out, and sort of by the table. He doesn't want to ask you to sign it, but he clearly wants you to sign it. Kind of, Richard. That.
Or I lean over and I pick it up and go, good, a first edition limited run these were, rather good. We only managed to get all the way through to a third printing, in fact, as I'm sure we will on the Empire's Thorn. I see you, opened up the boilerplate and said, do you have a pen handy?
Oh, certainly. Hand you a pen.
I was wondering, would be able to make use of your cheese store this evening?
Absolutely, whatever you need.
Yes, we will need privacy, I'm afraid.
And he will nod. They will feed you a dinner. Essentially, their cook has been in for the day, has prepared things. They've clearly told them to prepare extra for guests, they will provide if you need the ties and so on. If you ask for that, they will be willing to do that. Dr. Elliott is perhaps a little uncertain about that, but doesn't ask. Hale seems to be taken with the idea that you're undertaking some sort of undercover thing. It is not sure. So we will cut to the four of you at this church. It is, as I said, it is deconsecrated, I think is the right word. They have wooden shelves set up in part of it, and it definitely has that pungent smell of a cheese store. And the four of you can clear a space up towards the front, move some of the pews off to the side, and Richard, what does the ritual of the Aethers, the invocation, the reaching out into this look like? That's not something I think we've dwelt on too much as you heading into the Zoas, trying to reach into those levels. What does that look like?
I think it is the classic, magic ritual circles, chalk. I think Enochian script around each circle, a place for all participants, candles around the room, and I think that the methods, we all must be. There must be a place for us all to sit cross-legged. All of those participating within the magic circle, perhaps each of us within our own, outline, and then that itself within a broader, like angelic clockwork of ritual space, candles in each. And I think that opening the way to each plane requires some sort of different votive offering into it, I think that in the case of the one that we are going for here is 27
Za?
Za. Yeah. And in this case, I think there is a small cauldron filled with a few rose petals, with a moon carved upon the outside of it. And I think that is placed in the center of the ring. And that is our hope to enter the realm of Hecate, magical goddess of the witches. Although it is said that perhaps all that men look at upon this plane is simply their own dark souls.
So, the first part of the ritual, and I assume all four of you are participating.
Mm.
The first part of the ritual is the invocation, the passage through here, and the stability cost that has to be paid out amongst the four of you. Essentially, I need to spend a total of 10 points of stability from amongst the four of you.
I will spend a point of Enochian, which can contribute towards that.
Okay.
Close it by one, I believe, is the mechanic there.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of the more complicated rituals, I would say, in the whole book. So, yeah, I spend my point of Enochian because what else is that for?
Yep.
Okay.
And that Enochian is an academic skill, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So that actually counts as 3 points towards that. So there are 7 points left to be taken from amongst this.
Okay. Let's see here. So this is sanity.
Stability.
Stability. Oh, okay.
Burn
Well,
2.
I'll put 2 in.
So 2, 4, so 3 points left.
I'll put
give
3
it.
in.
Oh,
Okay, so
you're
2
sure?
points left.
Okay, so 2 points from me. We can
Okay.
do that.
Well, then I will spend 2 points as well. And
So that's the starting, like that's the to get to the ritual space. And At that point, there is the pressure of the world itself to keep you from moving your consciousness in through here. And essentially, there is a pool, the inertia pool, that the ritual itself has to fight against you. And just for the purpose of this, so we remember how the ritual system works, I'm gonna tell you what the inertia pool is. There's an inertia pool of 10 points that you need to wear down. And essentially, it's going to roll with its spend, and then someone needs to roll a stability check to fight that, a fight against that. And by default for these things, it's going to spend 3 points each round. If you fail to overcome it, the ritual will collapse. Now, this is one of those tasks where a group can work together. One person can make their spend, and then others can assist spending stability to do that. But essentially, like if Arthur contributes 2 towards it, only 1 point actually goes through because you take 1 off for the assist. So I'm going to go to the roller here, and I will roll for it to start, so that you know the difficulty as you enter into this space. So I've rolled a 2. So right now you need to overcome a 5. You need to beat 5 with a stability roll. If you beat it by more than 3 or more, then I will take an additional point off the inertia. You can also spend magic. Magic gives you a +3 on this roll. So who is leading this first, like, push through to breakthrough? So Richard. So how much stability are you spending for this roll?
I will spend a point of magic.
Okay, so you're rolling with a +3.
Mm-hmm.
You want to get a 6 or better.
Can you roll for me just because my
Absolutely. Anyone else wish to contribute? Paul, yes, you said
If I throw in 2, that gives him +1.
that is correct.
I'll lob in 2 then.
Okay. So basically that's anything but a 1. Who wants to roll that die for Richard so that I am not the one
I'll
who
do
does
it.
it? Okay.
Ah,
you get a 1.
I got a 1.
So that stability is spent. I think that you will reach up and begin to move through those gates of the Zoas and push your way up. And as you reach that first gate, again, Tex, and then is it Re, and then Bag, and the kind of moving through. This is something that it's not easy, but it is more familiar to Richard, since this is a process that you've been working through this last year. We'll see flashes of that, and I think we'll see you move to step to lead the others through into Za, and I think in the distance you maybe see a figure that must be Hecate, must be that in the distance, and suddenly there are these roots that shoot up in your way and start to grip onto the 4 of you, into your consciousness, start to pull at you, start to drag you down. And Arthur, it reminds you of your conversation with Nodens, that pull and that drag of this thing. And I think it's probably Richard, you who has to like cut off the journey, like draw them back before you are dragged by this thing.
I can kind of imagine it as though, like, it was all the church, right? And then we all closed our eyes, and I spoke out the Enochian, and then we all opened our eyes. It was like, when there's the walls and the roof have gone, and there's just this black void of infinity, and there's a mist swirled around as we traveled through text and past the six-wheeled angel of Bag, and the very, perhaps a white cat quickly scampered through the back as we passed through the dreamlands of Ree, and we approached to, there was the blackness, and then that figure of Hecate lit behind like a cauldron fire off in the distance, and then as the impossible space sort of, impossibly moved together, then suddenly those roots erupting from all across around the church. And I'll thrash, and I will kick over the cauldron in the middle of the circle, suddenly, bringing us back to where we're all just sat with our eyes closed in the church, in the material world, but gasping and
the wind has come up, like I think has come up like kind of howling, and I think you hear the wind in the trees there. That is the sound that you hear as you come back to the real world.
I've never been turned aside at the boundary before.
I fear, Richard, that you tamper with things that you do not yet fully understand.
That is what we are here for, damn it, to understand.
To understand and then act on that understanding, not to risk all in again rushing into things.
Stand up, push aside kick aside the candles, and wave a finger at you, Whitewood, and say, "What did we gather for if not to pursue our? Why we have spent a year languishing without the dragon focusing us. I'm glad that you have found your spine once more, Whitewood. But by gods, what are we here for if not to explore those realms? What understanding can we gather from your petty questions and your doubts? No wonder we could not pass into the aethers." And I push aside, kicking a wheel of cheese across the room.
Not the cheese!
Not the cheese! Not the cheese!
No, leave the petty. That's so sad. And she goes, "Should we try again?"
Maybe another night.
Sometimes I think that there is a time and a place, Miss Grimaldi, a time and a place. This may have been the time, but the wrong place, or the right place at the wrong time, but it was not to be.
She sort of steps and she goes, "I think the Grove, or at least Flora, has seen Richard. Perhaps it would be better that one who is more of a stranger to them lead the ritual."
I pray the Grove has not seen him. If not, he won't sleep well tonight, that's for sure. That place is evil. Maybe that is why we can't pass from one plane to another. Possibly. Good insight there, Miss Grimaldi, I feel. Even if I don't understand it myself.
Okay.
I suggest
Yes.
we retire. Tomorrow could be a long day.
She goes,
So,
"We
Arthur,
have to make progress at some point." And she does look at Richard. She goes, "I will lead our next attempt, whether we do it this evening or some other."
We made the case was made to learn more about the Bradburys before we embarked on further escapades. Let us do that.
Yes, let us no longer commune with the higher realms or the higher planes. You are right. However silly that I thought that our group of magicians may actually practice the art at some point. Miss Grimaldi, I would be honored if you would lead the ritual. I believe that you are more than capable.
Because I just know that you have exhausted yourself. Do you not want to risk your abilities in this?
I appreciate the concern, Miss Grimaldi. I appreciate the concern. As he bites back the more ranting that he was about to do about we need to risk things, we need to be brave, be bold.
And she goes, I do not. She goes, I am mustering all of my will to volunteer this. And she kind of looks at you and she goes, and she does turn back and she goes, I think knowledge might be helpful, but we are still, I agree with Richard, we must become more than what we are currently.
So, meta, if I may, I think that we will hold off on the ritual tonight.
Yes.
I think with a little bit of tension in the air, you will crash here. They will provide you with rooms. Let's take our second break, and we'll come to the next morning with the resources you've gathered. So take 5, and we'll be back. So you will get a call the next morning, Wilfer. You'll call down, and your friend will give you a name, basic description, registration number, some service details, that kind of thing. You wanted somebody that is sick or passed away recently, right?
Yeah. Sorry,
Okay, yeah. And he'll give you that. And he says, and I've added a note to the file with your name as a go-to for contact.
Much appreciated. That's definitely much appreciated.
All right. Don't make me regret this.
No, we're definitely even now.
Okay.
And I will join my colleagues late breakfast probably then.
Yeah.
And I'll slide over the details in a horrendously scrawled as if it was crayoned onto a bit of paper. There's the details of our man Richard. Because I don't think I can sell this too well myself.
Mhm.
I could claim to be his brother or something. But
Right.
I could legitimately claim to be his doctor.
that's a good in.
Good idea.
That is a very good idea.
I would defer to the military man. It was simply an idea of mine. You know that I was hoping to wrap ourselves in the shield of our own forces once more. But yes, I think the doctor would be. What's this thing they call shell shock? Was it perhaps?
We're beginning to experiment with other descriptions, but yes, at the time we called it shell shock.
So you operate on behalf of the Royal Hospital Chelsea. This man is ill.
Yes,
And he's requested a visit from his old commanding officer.
A visit.
Because he's on his way out. This old boy is.
All right. Isabella, I assume you go to the good wife's house.
Mhm.
When you arrive, she's there. She will invite you in, and she will give you a silk bag that feels like it's filled with perhaps bird seed of some kind. And she will say, when you go to do what you need to, make a circle with this around the space you wish to repair, undertake the repairs, and you will know the ritual, and this will keep the forces from pressing upon it too severely. And she will hand that to you.
And she said her name was Audrey?
That is what she calls herself, yes.
Yeah. But we probably think that she's
Maeve?
That is her other name.
Yes. I don't use it. I would never be so.
Right.
If someone tells me their name is Audrey, then their name is Audrey.
Uh, and I think that this time, as you are heading out, I think you will glimpse that in the backyard of the house, kind of just as a glance through the window, you will see a young man, you would guess in his 20s, sort of delightedly tending the garden.
All right.
And so the group will gather back together. Ties are on. And is it the four of you all heading up to the Bradbury estate?
I think it is.
Okay. So we will cut to that. You'll arrive. Very easy to find the Bradbury estate. Very easy to find the gate. It is not particularly locked, and you can drive up onto the grounds. And I think all of you have magic. All of you are connected to the power. So I think you'll feel that general, palpable sense of this belonging to someone else, to something else. And it's a Tudor timber framed mansion that's back there. You will drive up. You will see that there is a garage or garage, however you wish to say that, where there is a very simple car. They do have stables that look empty. And as you pull up, I think you'll see two little girls' faces kind of pressed at one of the windows looking out at you all. This is unheard of. So they are watching before they're clearly shooed away. And as you come up, the door will open and you will see a butler who will look at you, and
I will present my card. Dr. Arthur Whitewood.
Dr. Whitewood, how may we be of service?
I have a pressing need to talk to your master. Mr. Bradbury, I believe.
May I inquire as to the nature of, and he looks at the four of you, your business?
Yes, I'm here on behalf of the Royal Hospital, Chelsea. It concerns someone who served with Mr. Bradbury.
If you will follow me.
If I might introduce Miss Grimaldi, who is here as my administrative support.
He stops you and he says, there's no need to introduce these people to me. I will tell Mr. Bradbury that you are here with your associates. If you will deign to wait in the parlor, I will see if he is available.
Thank you so much.
And he will show you into a parlor. There are a number of chairs there. There's some bookshelves, old books. Nothing really recent. Doesn't look like he keeps up on popular literature. Certainly no copy of Richard's book. There are paintings around. a number of them landscapes, including one of Meon Hill that you will see up on the board. Though maybe perhaps a little more of a fanciful treatment of it, like the castle, maybe a little more intact and a little more fey-like. You'll definitely see that there are family history books here, and that are shelved there.
I suppose I am interested in whether I have occult, and I'm just curious if there is anything indicative around design, wood carving, floor patterns, anything at all that is reminiscent of any occult functions, histories.
Sure. Why don't you make that a cult spend?
3 becomes 2.
I think we'll see you move over to one of the paintings. That takes you a bit to place it, but maybe perhaps this is a distant painting of the grove itself from maybe from the house, from an upper floor. And I think that as you're kind of looking at it and looking at how the branches are interwoven in this, the darkness of it, I think that you will see it's been carefully worked in to the way that everything is presented, and it will remind you of occult images, of mentions of the great god Pan.
Hey.
And the pocket doors will come open, and you will see a figure comes in. He, let us say, does not look pleased, but he does look around, and he will say, "Which of you is Whitewood?"
That is me, Mr. Bradbury, I presume. And I hold up my hand.
He will take your hand. You may call me Edward.
That's very decent of you.
This is a large group here. 4
well,
of you for this business on a Sunday?
partly to do with urgency, partly to do with concern, really. And I will drop the name of the soldier. Miss Grimaldi is here. She's my assistant. Mr. And I'll use the second name of the soldier. A gesture at Wilford. This is, and use the man's first name.
Okay.
Is his cousin. And Mr. Fraser here is here on behalf of the War Office.
Come and sit. And he'll gesture for everyone to sit down, and the maid will come in and will pour tea.
Well, and then we embark on the tale. Now, we're across the threshold. We're here. I'm hoping other people are going to try to infer something while I keep him engaged with this task, with this complete fabrication.
Dr. Whitewood, would you please spend a point of medicine to keep his attention?
I will.
You're spinning the tale. He's listening to this. You're telling the tale of man and his, unit dying, kind of long sobs.
You may not remember him, but he certainly remembers you. And apart from cousin Peter here. He has no relatives in the world, but has expressed a desire to thank you for your leadership during the war. And it is a question of days rather than weeks that the man has left.
And he wishes me to do this in person?
That was our hope.
So, Wilford, Isabella, Richard, as this is going on, what are the three of you doing?
I was going to spend a point of architecture to try and get a sense of the layout of the building, but I've already spent architecture, so I won't do that.
Okay.
I have loads of points in filch. I could steal something. Is there anything worth stealing?
They have
Well-
some nice objects there. There are the books on the side of the thing.
I need something to give me some knowledge of what to filch.
Okay.
I
How
mean, I
about
could spend a cult if you want me to steal something occulty. Yeah, I mean, stealing for the sake of stealing is not going to achieve much.
No, I mean,
for me.
what I would suggest is that Isabella and Richard deploy their understanding skills, and then we can determine whether your action-oriented skills are necessary.
Excellent. To Richard and Miss Grimaldi, then over to you.
Because I've gone along with this plan to get us across the threshold.
Well, I mean, it was largely to the main thing was just let's have a meeting with the guy who's I think assess honesty allows you to evaluate their motives and character. Yes. So like I'd be thinking about I'd be tempted to slip that into
do you want to spend that?
Yeah, yes. Yes, I'm here from the War Office. Soldier's last request. However, I did know that we have some gaps in our records of your service, Mr. Bradbury. I was hoping we could clear it up.
This is a very bad time for this.
Oh, I do apologize. What is the matter? If there's anything Her Majesty's government could do to help, let me
I
know.
do not think so. My wife is near to term upstairs, and so I must be here for that. So while I appreciate your bringing me this news, there is no way that I can leave the house at this time.
Would you be in need of medical expertise? Dr. Whitewood is a rather...
We take care of our own births here. We have a midwife to, if we need to, oversee.
Well, then this shouldn't take long. Some outstanding questions, I'm afraid. Of course, as an officer in a Majesty's army, you would be required to stand for service again if the war was to break out with the Hun once more, or indeed any other enemies. I have here that you are the owner of the estate, but I'm afraid we don't have it listed what your estate is dedicated towards. What its product would be in times of war.
And he says, this is not a working estate.
Yes.
We collect the dues from Quentin as per our ancestral rights.
Yes, and those ancestral rights go back
to the 8th century.
Right, that's the 8th century, of course. And it's Upper Quinton that you're the leaseholder for, I believe?
We are paid a certain amount of dues from both Quintons.
Both Quentins, of course. Both Quentins. And if the records are correct, then the Bradbury estate borders with Convivial House, yes? To the south.
I believe it does.
It's good neighbors?
I wouldn't know.
Well, of course. Well, I suppose strong fences, good neighbors, that's what they say, yes. I suppose you must have rather strong fences.
Was that a question?
Well, I suppose it was, but one that you can disregard, sir, if you do not wish to answer it. It was not one of my official questions.
So let me give you like one of the things you will get, and this is the assess honesty.
Mhm.
The one thing he says that comes through as strongly truth is he is anxious, worried, and excited about his wife's birth. Like that's very clearly like that is top of his mind. That is all that he is concerned with.
I suppose like the other angle that I can, the information that I have to go down this soft sort of route of thingy is daughters. We have listed here Sarah, I believe, and the other one was
Emily.
Evelyn. Yes,
That is
yes,
correct.
and well, and your wife, of course. Those are your only children so
Those are
far?
my only children.
Well, I close the notebook and I say, I expect you're hoping for a boy, yes? Firstborn son?
We have waited very long for that. Yes.
Well, I do wish you good luck, sir. Yes, of course. And I would critically like to, is there any fear
Do you want to
is there-
make an assess honesty?
Yeah, that's critically where I want the assess on it, really, to be
Okay.
honest. Yeah.
Make another spend here.
Okay.
He knows it's going to be a boy.
He knows it's going to be a boy. And therefore he knows his wife is going to. Your wife must really be looking forward to having a boy.
Yes.
Mm. And this is the nattering that's going on while Scrimaldi is
Absolutely. So you and Whitewood are kind of playing tag team back and forth with him. Miss
Yeah.
Grimaldi.
There is that moment when the child, the boy about to be born, essentially, as soon as he said that his wife was close to term, she realized what was going on. And I do think that there is that sort of thing of the sort of the fear that closes everything down for a moment, before she sort of kind of comes back. And I kind of think that she starts out with going just the facts about what's around me, because it's a little bit too much for her emotionally in that moment. So I am going to essentially make that architecture spend that just to get a sense of what is it that's right or wrong about this house. I do have that odd ability that things that are set to deceive the eye pull mine to them.
How about this? Let me offer you this.
Mm-hmm.
I think with architecture, given the way the room is set up, given the attention that Whitewood and Fraser have, I think with architecture, I think it would be easy enough for you to spot how you could exit this room discreetly and make your way through the house. It's a decent sized mansion, and I think you've clocked that there may only be like this maid and this butler, the daughters, him and his wife. Like that may be it. Maybe there's a governess, but clearly she's not here on a Sunday. Does that seem fair?
Yes.
Yes.
What do you want to do with that information before I go to Wilford?
My out of eyesight, I have tried to be as boring as I can be. All right then. I think I might just step to the side and take a peek around.
Okay. That is a stealth roll.
Oh, I have some of that.
Yes, you do.
All right. I don't know. What do I need?
I think
I
you
know.
need to hit a 4.
Oh boy. Well then I guess I'll spend 2.
Okay.
Let's see here. Which that okay. And then I have to roll, which is my least happy thing, but let's do it. Okay, I rolled a 3.
Roll
So
the
that gives
3.
me a 5.
Okay. So you can slip out and make your way out here. I think you can tell that upstairs, like you're hearing sounds that you suggest the wife and probably now the maid are upstairs. You could, given what you saw where the girls were, you could go and talk to them. Or it looks like there is, a downstairs study that you could head towards. Which direction are you going?
Mhm. Trying to think perhaps the little girls.
What about you, Wilford, before I come back to Isabella?
So we're in his parlor. There are books here.
Yeah.
I'm willing to spend a point of occult to show me some. Is there any sort of text, magical text or occult text that stands out? And then I'd probably like to steal it.
Let me think here. What might be? I don't think there's like a book here
That's
that
oh,
that is an occult text.
okay.
Which, if he was a practicing magician or occultist, you would expect something like that. But there isn't any, which says you that there's something different going on with him.
Yeah.
And in fact, I think that with your cult and kind of looking at him and stuff, he doesn't have like any power per se.
Okay. No, that says a lot. No, that's
Does that
good.
seem fair?
Fine. Yeah, I'm happy. If I know that Isabella's gone off, I'll run in interference if
Okay.
need be. So I'm waiting on that.
Arthur, Richard, is there anything else you want to draw out of this guy before I come back to Isabella, or do you want me to do Isabella first?
Isabella first from me.
Okay. So Isabella, you will kind of make your way, kind of slip through the dining room. Again, you're used to doing this backstage, staying quiet between the curtains, and you'll come to a parlor, or another like little table setup room, and you will see 2 little girls there, probably 8 and 11. They are seated there. They have clearly been left to their own devices, and they have made a mess of this room. There are some toys and crayons and pencils and that kind of thing around, and they will look up when you come in, and like their eyes get wide.
She goes, hello.
Are you our new governess?
No. She goes, the strangest thing, I dropped my pen and now I can't find it.
Help you look for it.
That would be very helpful. And essentially
They seem very excited by a task being
okay.
given by a stranger.
All right. And she goes, where do you think that we should look for a pen when it's gone missing? Absolutely missing.
Well, where did you see it last?
It was in my hand. And she goes, and I was writing a note, and then I had to split it. So I switched it and it fell out of my hand. It should have been right by my foot. She goes,
And they'll
she
begin to question you about, okay, so maybe he was in the foyer,
Absolutely.
and they'll ask you about that. you can certainly get them on your side.
Right.
They're excited by this because they currently are terribly bored. I think you'll find out that their current governess has been given a fortnight's leave.
Oh,
They say because Mummy is in a way. So they've been ever so bored, ever so bored.
oh. And I'll say, and this is the thing is I go, well, and I will show them how the pen disappeared. Okay,
Okay.
because I have magic tricks, right?
All right.
So I will do, yes.
Oh yeah, they eyes go wide when that happens.
Exactly. And she goes, it's a strange house. This keeps happening.
They will laugh. What is it you want to try and get at here? And what is
want-
the spend?
And what is the spend? Okay, oh, that's a good question. Essentially, I want to get a sense of just how soon is the birth expected? Like, how long do we have before this terrible thing happens? This is essentially it.
Okay.
And
What do you want?
also, yeah, first that I think is the main thing that I need to know.
What is your interpersonal spend for this?
Oh, I'm American.
Okay.
I think it's very,
Yeah, they are shocked by your accent.
I know. She goes, yes.
Why do you talk like that?
She goes, I'm from very far away. I'm from America.
Ah,
And she kind of goes, where they make movies. Have you ever seen a movie?
we've heard
Oh.
of them,
Hmm. She goes, well,
but we're not allowed to go out.
you aren't.
No, we haven't. We've gone to town once or twice, but Pa says eventually we'll be taught, and then we will be wed.
She goes, well, do you go out in the garden? Oh. And she goes,
We spend a
only,
lot of time there now because the baby is due soon.
did she say how soon?
Each night, Abbas goes up and waits.
He must be very concerned.
He is. He is. Goes there and he makes Mummy drink from the cup.
Which cup?
Oh, it's the old cup. He got it out when we found out that she was going to have our brother, and
And she kind of goes, what does the cup look like?
it's very, very old. We're not allowed to touch it. And then we'll say we looked at it once, but and they'll kind of make a face, but it was in the cabinet. Opened it up, and we looked at it, but someone had left some water in it, and it smelled like the pond. It was very bad.
Mm. I know exactly what you mean. So the pond, and she goes, is that the one that's out? And she sort of gestures towards where the grove is.
Yes, we don't go there if we can help it. It smells very bad.
Oh, why would you go there then, ever?
Father has taken us there once or twice.
Hmm.
We don't like it.
What do you do?
He-
Back in America, we always throw stones into the ponds.
No, we just stay back, stay near him. And the little one says, the trees have faces.
Have you ever seen anyone else out?
And they look at each other and they go, well, that's where Flora is.
Who's Flora?
I think she's our sister.
Why isn't she here with you?
She lives in the woods. She lives in the grove. She's not quite right.
Still, I don't know why she wouldn't live with you. Have you ever talked to her?
She doesn't talk like the regular.
Oh,
She sings. And it's not a good song.
that's sad.
Sometimes I think she talks to the faces in the trees.
What kind of faces are they? Angry? Sad?
They're all her face.
Oh,
I've seen them. They go back and they're not there sometimes when you look at them dead on. But when you see them out of the corner of your eye, you can see they all have Flora's face. I don't like it. Don't like that place. The locals bring things, leave them there.
then what?
Then they rot.
Ooh. That is not a happy thing. Let's think about something happy. And that is how I leave them, with some more magic tricks, and then I
Okay.
get the heck out of there.
Okay.
Though I do kind of keep an eye, I do ask about where the cabinet is.
Oh,
Like you
they
said-
say they'll tell you where the cabinet is, but they'll say the cup is up in Mummy's room.
All right. I have
And
pushed it right
yeah,
now.
yeah. And I think with the
that's it.
architecture, I think that you get a good, like, a sense of what the geography is of that second floor. Does that seem fair?
Yes, it does. Okay, back I go.
And Wilford, what do you want to roll to kind of do interference to cover Isabella coming back? You are muted.
Good point. I could make it look as if I'm stealing something, but that's not particularly good. No, I think there isn't an acting, but I do have psychoanalysis.
Psychoanalysis or even stealth to kind of cover over for her slipping back in.
Stealth it will be.
Okay.
I'm more than happy to make a roll on stealth.
All right. So I think it's a little
How
more
difficult?
challenging for her to come back in. So I think the difficulty is going to be 5.
Fine, I will spend. I'm going to spend 4 points
Okay.
because I want it to succeed. Let's roll 1d6 plus 4. 10.
10.
Now that's good.
I think as an additional thing, I think you will see as the two of you, conspiratorially get her back in. I think, Isabella, you will see that there appears to be a set of back stairs that go up to the second floor that you will spot where that is. And it's across from what you guess must be the doors down into the cellars and the catacombs below the house.
There's just so many delightful choices here. So many.
So you'll come back in and he's saying, so you understand, if you will give me a moment, I will pen a letter for your cousin. But as I say, as it stands now, I cannot leave the house.
Totally
I think that's as
understand.
good as we're going to get. Yeah.
Totally understand. Thank you. Thank you. He'd appreciate a letter from one so high as you.
And he will say, if you will remain here, I will go into my study and draft the letter. I will have more tea brought. It should take me less than half an hour.
I think that's when as our eyes meet across the table and you look at your watch and then cut to next episode.
Yeah, I think so. I think we're going to cut there in the house. He is going to go and pen this letter, and we're going to see what happens.
What can we get done in 30 minutes?
We haven't done refreshes much. So I want to tell everybody you can refresh 1 point of an investigative, and 3 points of general.
Does magic come in death though?
Magic has to refresh via time spent at a place of power.
I never quite understand whether those refreshes apply to sanity and stability.
They do not.
Thought not. I must put a line
Can't
around
refresh
that.
stability with that then. Okay.
No, it's a declining resource.
Yes, it's a clock.
Which is why, Richard, you must take more care.
We only need health, why would?
So let us do a quick stars and wishes, particularly what we'd like to see. This has been this case kind of drawn out because it's our first one back, but I do expect us to get to the finale next time of this particular case, as it were. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So Isabella, you get to start this time with stars and wishes.
Oh, stars and wishes. Stars. I start to you, Lowell, for making a thing that was already creepy even creepier. That was well done and horrible. Let's see here. I really enjoyed our failed attempt at the eons. Richard, you were like spot on with your frustration, and I think that one of the things is it was one of the things you were so angry, and I agreed with you, but I realized that Isabel has been holding herself back on those things. Like she's frightened of that particular magic. And so I was like, well, this is an opportunity for her to step forward and say, okay, I'm just going to deal with it. So your scene was great, and it was a great opportunity to do that. So I super enjoyed it. I have been enjoying Manic Dr. Whitewood so much. It's like it's like exactly the best reaction to being out of London and then in another weird situation, like this kind of crazy overreaction to it that's just been really fabulous to play against. Very good, very good. And Paul, your Wilford is the rock, the stone, the sensible one, and I'm so grateful for him in every scene he's in. So I have to say, it was just really good. Everything was lovely today. Let's see, wishes. I really hope that we could do something that might change the outcome for how things are going here. So yes, I have put my points back into stealth. I hope to actually be helpful in this situation rather than just kind of letting the guys do the thing. So
Okay.
I'm there. I will do some sneaking, some stealthing, maybe some theft.
Richard.
I would say that Miss Grimaldi was extremely useful going to go speak to yet more children. I feel that this is a good playbook that we have going for us. And I'm glad that we got to revisit it. I had to give a big star to you, Lowell. Yeah, we've been doing the usual getting back into the groove and investigative, chasing down every possible lead before. We are, it occurs to me a few times, playing it a little bit like a Night's Black Agent style thing where we don't tip our hand to the until we have it. Whereas you know, obviously I've been kind of pushing us to go straight at things
Mhm.
but it's all been in character and it's all been good. And you know, I always enjoy that we're able to do these things in character, and you know what I mean? Like it's
Yeah.
all still the meta level and the fictional level kind of thing. I was very happy that we managed to do the ritual. You know, if anything, I'm just disappointed it didn't end in a worse reaction. You know. I was also I really enjoyed that we got to call in Wilford's military background here,
Mhm.
along with Clayton, and yeah, uh, yeah. Again, another, and you know, to go back to it, that I really enjoy. I always enjoy a RPG session where, what was it? I think in Delta Green, I got to tell Alan's character to shut the fuck up and have a tantrum at him. So, both of them doctors, I remember, and actually now I think
Yes.
about it. Yeah. Wishes. Yeah, I'm obviously I want to do more of the ether stuff. That could, it occurs to me, be more in the wake of what comes after we've gone through this particularly nasty bit. Now we're in the belly of the beast. I'm keen to sort of push through rather than draw back. You
Yes,
know,
there is a beast and there is a belly here.
yeah,
So
yeah. I guess I would meta-wise like to try and work our way towards greater magical power through
Mhm.
whatever we're bringing here. Perhaps visit the Fae of Mayon Hill and make a bargain with them or something. But we'll see how that goes. You know,
Okay.
the meta plot.
Yeah.
Find out what Lord Portmore wants in particular would be a great one as well.
Okay. Oh, what? Okay. Perfect. Alan.
Yes, I'm deeply concerned that Miss Grimaldi is becoming infected with the wild, radical approach that Fraser has embarked on from almost the first moment we met him. It's dangerous, it's irresponsible, and it involves the damaged cheeses. So star to Will for kicking over the cheeses. I mean, no greater sin, frankly. You cheese kicker, you. Yeah, I too was glad to see Wilford making the military connection. I thought it was a good ploy. We turned out to be a surprisingly convincing visitation from the War Office. Yeah, Isabella, the skill American is the nearest thing that we have to a traveler jack of all trades. It seems to me. Yeah, deploying it to children, I think, is almost abusive. Um, so yeah, that's great. And yeah, so no, it's a joy this level, and it is getting very creepy now. I mean, this is a very creepy man in a very creepy place. In terms of wishes, I want Isabella to start using some of these, lock picking and stealthing and all that stuff. I want her to become Diana Rigg in the Avengers. Um, because I think she's got the skill set to do it. And yeah, I want to see Richard stepping across a line, um, and we'll pick up the pieces afterwards,
Yeah.
as always.
Excellent. And Wilford.
Really, really good session. Totally enjoyed it. I liked the hat off to you, Lol. A three-way party split. Not easy, to keep everybody engaged. You did it really well. And I really liked Isabel's interaction with the good wife. Lots of info gathered there, and it really sort of helped. As your session in the church library, Alan, that was good information gathering part of the session, and me and Will worked really well in Upper Quinton. I thought, good plan. Everybody bought into it. Went really well. I mean, Alan got there first. I was very dismayed with the abuse of cheese. It is quite sacred, really. He stepped over a line. I don't know if I can really forgive Will in real life for such an abuse. And
Can I
again,
just point out, he's put in the chat, they're not meant to be good cheeses. Well, now you've cracked the rind, they're never going to be good cheeses.
and again, Lowell, sort of right at the end, the way you led in sort of architecture leads into a stealth spend, you know, just sort of how you drew a character into sort of doing something that was dodgy, as in you know, not playing it safe anymore. I thought that was a joy to perceive for you know, awesome GM, and you know, everybody leaned into it. Really good session, enjoyed it. Going forwards, clearly, I would say East Anglia, but that's never going to come true. So a bit more cheese then. Can we have some more cheese going
Dang,
forwards?
More cheese. We'll have a Wallace and Gromit crossover here.
Not even Wensleydale.
All right. I'm going to stop the recording.